Welcome to Rotary and Serving Our Community. My name is Wade Nomura, and today we are going to take a look at one of those groups and organizations that help us tremendously in Rotary, and that is being covered by media. We have with us today Coastal View, and Lea Boyd, welcome.
Thanks, Wade.
And Gary, thank you. Gary Dobbins, thank you very much for joining us today. Pleasure. I wanted to have you on the show because of all you've done for what we do as Rotarians, and especially in Carpinteria. Lea, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in Carpinteria, and I've had the great fortune to work for Coastal View News for, well, off and on for over a decade.
Wow.
And as the editor now for 8 years. And I now am raising my daughter in our community. She's going to be 4 in March.
There's one thing good about Carpinteria. Everybody knows everybody, so yeah, that's been nice. I'm sure you've enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's fun.
Good, good. How about you, Gary? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been the co-publisher of the Coastal View now for 21 years. Michael and I, Van Stry is my partner. I've been in Rotary 21 years.
Wow.
And I'm celebrating my 21st year in Rotary also. And there's been a lot that is changed to Carpinteria as far as I'm concerned since I've been there and in the involvement community as it is. I mean, Carpinteria is such a unique community. It's not hard to get involved with the people and things that are necessary to fundraise and do that kind of thing. And this particular entity that you've created here was something I really, really wanted, because Rotary, as Lea and I were talking on the way over here, has so many special projects that they do for people. So I really enjoy it, and I've enjoyed being in Rotary.
Right. Well, thank you very much for what you're doing for us in our community. Tell us a little bit how you got involved. How did you end up in Rotary?
Actually, one of my partners in the early day when we first started Coastal View was Rosemary Finucchi. She was married also to a district governor. So she was quite adamant about me getting involved. So I went to a lot of free lunches because then we only had one club in Carpinteria. Now we have the 2. But Rotary was, after I had attended and was aware of what they were doing and what they were doing to give back in their communities, it was a perfect fit for me.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah.
And what would you say was one of your Rotary highlights? Tell us something about what's special happened to you during a Rotary event or project.
Probably in the very beginning. It was back many, many moons ago. Kevin Baird was then the president of the club of Rotary, and he decided he wanted to create an immunization project to get the kids. We found out Rotary's had a program, and they came to us and said that kids weren't being inoculated. And Kevin Baird said he wanted to do something about it. So for 5 years, Rotary participated in seeing to it that all the kids got immunized. And that was probably my biggest one. I mean, there's a lot more in there that I've been involved in. I mean, we actually created Rods and Roses, the car show, as a Rotary fundraiser in the very beginning when I first did it. But I think my big highlight was the immunization program for kids. I really, and then being supportive of everything else Rotary does, the trips to Mexico with doctors and dentists and water purification things and stuff like that. So, yeah. But I think the immunization program was the biggest for me. That went 5 years, and we got just tremendous success from it.
Very true. And Lea, how about you? Being involved now as an editor to the newspaper, what have you seen in the past as far as the nonprofits and how that helps the community, specifically Carpinteria? Because I'm sure you cover quite a few of these events.
Yeah, we do. They're really important to us, actually, to highlight the good work of the local clubs in town. And we feel like there's a full circle with it in that by covering the news that comes out of the clubs, we're giving our readers, we're putting it in the face of our readers that these clubs, and Rotary is really top of the list. They're doing great things in town. And then we hope that when Rotary needs that extra push, when there's a Tomel Park to be built or
Right.
some big project, we hope that having put those faces and those stories out there for so long, that people in our community will really step up and say, this is an organization that's doing good all year round. We really want to pick it up a notch and support them.
And I think you've accomplished that because thanks to you, quite a bit of what we do in our efforts are supported strongly by the community. Quite a bit so, to a point that where they actually seek out our next project and what we're trying to do there. So thank you for that. Looking over in the history, is there any project or event that Rotary did that you really remember, something that stands out with all those?
Well, I mentioned Tomel Park, and let me revise, Tomel Interpretive Play Area.
Thank you.
we got really good at that.
Yes, you did.
And actually, that project, that was phenomenal. When I started with the paper over 10 years ago, that project was in its earliest phases, and Roxanne was involved in working with local kids in the schools to develop plans for the park, what they wanted to see as the play area that they would most enjoy. And we followed that story, and then I moved out of town for a couple years and came back to find that project, that it was a real dogged effort to get this project up and running, and it was continuing, and costs were climbing, but plans just continued to be refined to this point where now, of course, the project is built, and it's phenomenal. It's unlike anything else that we have in town, and really unlike anything that I've ever seen. And what makes that project special to me now is that I feel like I was in some small way a part of it by covering the news of it throughout the years, and now I get to watch my daughter play in that play area and just love to see that it came to be, and that's really thanks to the community pouring its support into a project spearheaded by the Rotary, and a project that you guys didn't let go, even though I know that there were some major challenges, and there I'm sure were times when you questioned whether it was going to be possible, but
Wasn't that about an 8-year?
It was over 8 years. Over 8 years to develop that project.
Between all the entities involved, the state park, all of those. And your tenacity, staying with it, was a big part of it.
I have to admit that the Coastal View played a large part of it, because every time we have a little incremental chance that it was going to happen again, it showed up in the press. And so we had a lot of community involvement that helped push that along also. That was huge. And part of the plan and design of that playground was to make sure that the community had the ownership of it. And I'm glad the way you said it, that you felt a part of it because the community did. And without that, it would have never happened.
Yes.
It would have never happened.
And it is quite, the sidewalk, we should have brought pictures of the sidewalk. I walk there now pretty much daily because I have a hike around Carpinteria that I do, and that walk that you've put with all of the names and those that support it and are in it is just so impressive.
Yeah.
It really is. It's the who's who of the Carpinteria and those that have been involved with the project. I mean, you just look at the names on those bricks and it's really heartwarming. It really is.
It is. And it's been very helpful for us too. By the way, we have another 22 or 23 bricks going in this week. So keeps it going, and it's helped out tremendously. That project, by the way, started at a $128,000 budget, ended up almost $1 million. So
exactly.
I'm glad we had the 8 years. Wouldn't have made it otherwise.
Well, and I think we've made it aware to the public too. There's the maintenance and the liabilities that keep going onto that we have to take care of. And the community, I think, is aware of that now. They know that it takes a fundraising effort to keep up all of that. Right. So
part of the sales of the pavers and the bricks, the commemorative bricks, goes directly to an endowment that we're establishing right now for that ongoing maintenance. And that's been kind of a challenge. Thanks for bringing that up, because we probably should put that out there a little better than we do.
Yeah, well, the thing of it is, my co-publisher, Mike, really took an evident interest in that particular project also, as Lea did, and he wanted to make sure that they were aware all the time of what was going on in that park, and especially putting the thing in to get a brick,
Yeah.
you know, that type of thing. I mean, it was one thing to try to sell them at the farmer's market and that type of thing, but every time it seemed that we published it in the paper, the form and the how to accomplish getting one of those bricks or one of those on the sidewalk, and it made a real good feel-good situation for Mike.
Good.
Yeah, it really did.
Now, I know in the Coastal View you have a club scene that you cover all of the service clubs, which has been a great asset because we get weekly coverage for a lot of the things that we as service clubs and organizations do. I believe that also led to the Service Club Week recognition. That was a resolution by the city of Carpinteria to put those banners up each year. So
Yes.
a tremendous thank you for that. With the weekly coverage of what the clubs are doing, do you have to solicit that out? Do you have to go to them, or do they, most of them, help submit those? Does it work for you?
Most of those are submitted to us.
Okay.
And we have some clubs, like both the Rotary clubs in town, who are such well-oiled machines that very little has to be done to edit what we receive. The photos are high quality that we receive. The information answers the who, what, where, when, why. We really feel fortunate that we know that some of our content is just taken care of, and so we hope that it's a win-win and that we're providing some space and some ink for the clubs, but it's also a win for us where we get to say, okay, this is a little bit less of our resources that we have to put toward finding the news and generating that and going through all of the steps which are necessary for some other parts of the paper.
It's very good because I've seen very few other papers that cover anything like that, a specific club scene. I think that's important. It becomes crucial, especially for Carpinteria, because Carpinteria is so community-based.
Oh.
You see the other ones, they're so fractured out that you don't really see the internal support from different groups, different organizations.
And I think to add to that, we're more likely to put club news in our newspaper if it feels like news. And in that way, what the Rotary clubs do is great. The quality of speakers that both the clubs have week to week it is so high that it's news that people want to read about. And I'm learning something every week when I get the press releases from both clubs.
Have you had any comments back on that club scene if people are using it outside of these service clubs, or is it mostly service clubs feedback that it's positive?
I think that what people like to do when they open our newspaper and what people can count on when they open our newspaper is see the faces of their friends and their neighbors, and I think it makes people feel special to be in there and to know somebody and to feel connected to the people who are in our newspaper. So whether or not we're hearing directly from our readers that, hey, that was a really interesting speaker that they had at Rotary, I feel very confident that people are opening up the paper and looking at that section and saying, wow, these are neat things that are going on in our town.
I think I might want to add, too, that we've highlighted a lot. The one thing about Coastal View that made it unique about being tied to the community, it's free. For 21 years, the newspaper has been a free paper. The 85-year-old paper that was there always had a subscription and a subscription base. We have such a vast support of the community that we have a section that was created by my partner, Michael, called the Honor Roll. And these are just people that want to contribute, want to put in and keep the paper in a free status so that anybody has the ability to pick up, get the news, find out what's going on in their communities. So,
and I think also the readership probably doesn't really realize, nor the community, how much effort you put forward. And when I say that as an example, if there's a upcoming fundraiser an upcoming event specific to Rotary or any of the other service organizations, you guys put it out there.
Yes.
And that's free of charge most of the time to these people. And that money goes directly back to the community. So I think there's very few people that see that working as that relationship. But that sure helped out our community tremendously.
Yeah.
Having that
Appreciate that,
available.
Wade. That point was what we wanted to be in the very beginning, a community paper, a real one, where everybody had the opportunity to voice, to say, to do what they would like to see do in the paper. So, and Lea, when she came back, had a vision of enhancing that because she grew up there. She could go out, she knew most of the people, and so that strengthened it in that way too. It took her mother and me a lot to recruit her.
I'm sure it did. Now, you were honored a few years ago for the newspaper. I recall you talking about that when you were hanging out at Jack's one day. Tell us a little bit about that.
I don't know. We've had so many national awards. We are part of the AFCP, which is the Community Free Papers. And over the years, the editorial department, the advertising, everybody has, for their photography work, everything has been recognized on a national level. So I think we're standing now, after all these years, at about 150 national awards for our community and what we've done in the community. So yeah, it's a feel-good type of thing. Mike and I really don't toot our horn much about that, but what I'm most proud of is when we receive those types of awards, it's a reflection that we're doing our job right. And that's what I appreciate more from it.
Well, I know for a fact that you got the attention of Rotary International because somebody from PR and marketing came to me and asked if I knew anything about how the Coastal View and our Rotary clubs were working, because they said they've never seen weekly articles on Rotary. So congratulations to you for that.
Yeah.
That was big.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they take a look at all ways to try and promote Rotary.
As being a Rotarian, the things that I kept seeing over all these years was the fact that every club gives back in a very special way on their projects. And there's vast projects, from everything from water projects in Mexico, and like I said, doctors and things that go on. And that's what caught me, was the fact that there is so much that needs to be said about what Rotary is actually doing. And as you went into the upper echelons of Rotary and became district governor and so forth, it put a little bit of a branch to that, where we were reaching out to hear what other clubs were doing. And I think it's important that the public and the communities realize what that's about.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. I've seen Rotary worldwide, starting at the community level. So the impacts occur at the community, but then the community could be anywhere in the world.
That's right.
With that same
Exactly.
effect. So that's a good way to look at that.
Yeah.
Definitely so.
I was talking with Lea on the way over here. That was something that was impressive to me all along, was the fact that every club's project has great meaning to the general public. You know, it's a way that they really don't realize how much they're being spoken about and done with the projects that the Rotary do and come forth.
Yeah, that is definitely the case. I've been to quite a few, probably majority of the Rotary clubs, cities and communities, and very seldom, they're usually complaining because they say we have to pay to get anything in the paper, and if we even get anything in there submitted that we think is newsworthy, it goes away. They never hear anything about it. And so that has been a challenge, I would say, in probably 75% of the communities we work within.
Wow.
The newspapers, I think, get so commercialized that they don't realize what they could do to benefit the communities through supporting service clubs and service organizations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And there's great projects. I mean, you could probably list thousands more than I could, but I mean, it's just the idea that all of them are important to their communities.
They are.
And they really are.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Rotary's primary focus and goal is to impact communities, make those changes, and make it a better place.
Yes.
And that's why Rotarians are Rotarians. Unfortunately, they don't always get the support of the people they need to that would also gain that benefit.
Yeah, it is. It's like you said, most of the industry and the newspaper industry is changing and evolving in many different ways, especially in the last 5-10 years with all the internet stuff and things going on. But to stay focused on getting the news within the community, I used to joke in the early days that, if Michael Jackson was in town, I'd cover the spelling bee at the school before I'd go see him. Our interest, and she has really held to it to a very point that Carpinteria is what our focus is, what the community's doing, and that's what we concentrate on.
Well, I know Leah's been a hard worker at that. I see her at every city council meeting. Yeah, very diligent on that, and she's a one-man show. She does everything from writing it to getting the pictures.
Yeah, we trained her as a
Definitely not
photographer.
one-man show.
Well, okay, one woman.
I think one of the special things about Coastal View is that we have a staff that's like a family.
Yes.
And it's a small staff, but we all are part of the community too. So we're not coming in from afar and pretending to know about the place that we're covering. We really do know it. Our heart is with it. So
It shows in all of the articles, basically cover to cover in the newspaper covers local, and it's not written from somebody outside. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
That you could see that it's all within the community, and that's outstanding. We really appreciate that. I want to talk a little bit. We got a little bit of time here about the TV show, the one we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Gary, you're the one that twisted my arm, made me sit in this chair here. So tell me a little bit about how this fits into media also, and how it promotes Rotary.
Well, I've been involved with. I was member number 95 when this all started. I used to produce a show called Carpinteria Live. And then the city got me on the board, and then I ended up writing the bylaws for all of this, and so I've been involved in it for over 20 years now.
Wow.
Representing the city of Carpinteria. And it was a point where I felt that this was another point where not only our paper could talk about what Rotary does, but that we could reach out because of the reach that this has in the county and how far it goes out. And again, you had rose to a level where you had access to all the other clubs in the communities, and it was just a perfect type scenario to bring this to the community so they all could see what each club is doing and what their projects were about. So that was really my incentive on that. And like I said, having you already rising in that echelon, we had access to them, because I would not have access. I mean, Lea would not have reached out to the ones up in Morro Bay and Cayucas, where one of the new clubs you started and that type of thing.
Right.
Had this not been there, that I thought would work. And I think you've done a great job doing it. And of course, Matt, I can't thank Matt enough. The new director here has just been fabulous. I've worked with many of them over the years since we do it. I mean, and it was a great change when we finally got control of it away from the Cox communication side of it, because Cox used to be the controlling factor here. But yeah, it was important that we build something like this, and a bridge, I call it, to get to the publics in all the communities to say, this Rotary Club is doing this, or this Rotary Club is doing that.
Right.
So that's where I felt the importance was.
It's been great. To be honest with you, when you approached me the first time on that, I go, well, yeah, I could probably do 2 shows, not having any idea what material I'd use. We've been taping now since doing shows since first part of August, so it's about a half year, getting close to half a year time. Yeah.
You have a great district. I mean, you have the clubs, you have access to them. Yes, it's important that we continue this, and I hope that you found enjoyment by bringing in these other clubs, that's another thing, because the other clubs all have a project or something that they're doing wonderful that they need to let everybody know about it.
True,
So,
true.
And it's difficult, as you said, getting the papers or getting attention that way.
It is true. We were fortunate a few shows ago to actually have an interview done with the president of Rotary International from Sri Lanka. So that actually also goes. So you get to see everything, like you say, from the big picture all the way down. And that was because I needed to do more than 2 shows. So we started looking around at other opportunities. And it's pretty fascinating how far-reaching Rotary actually is when you start doing these shows like this.
Well, I think too, some like our club and we have 2 clubs now in Carpinteria, having a public relation type of idea on their boards and how they submit and get stuff out, this is a big guide for them, a big help on how to do that, how to accomplish that. I mean, it's one thing to sit in a Rotary Club up in Cayucas and not have anybody really aware of what they're trying to accomplish or do.
Right.
And so it's another venue.
And I think you're right. The success of the clubs and the way they impact the communities is based on that cooperative effort.
Yes.
Because oftentimes I've seen clubs go out there and they extend themselves as far as they can go on a project for the community, and nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
Nobody covers it, and it kind of goes just silent, unwritten, that it just happened overnight by somebody doing something.
Well, wasn't it the Cayucas Club you started, and there was like 8 people that started that club or something? Which was the one?
That was probably one of them. I didn't start that, but I was part of the group.
In getting them going. But I mean,
True.
there was so few members,
Wow.
and then they took it and just ran with it.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And so what you're creating, the Coastal View and the way media is covering Rotary, you're setting an example, definitely, without a doubt, that successful clubs are going to have to eventually take a look at and try and figure out how they can do the same.
Well, they should have
Makes
on
a
their
big
boards a public relation type
Right.
slot where a person takes responsibility, as our club. Somebody takes a picture,
Right.
somebody gets the information to Lea, that type of thing. And I think that would be an important entity for all of the clubs to create that spot or that position on their boards.
Now, I know Rotary's been very, I would say, focused on trying to create that also, and they went through and they've done millions of dollars in grants trying to rebrand Rotary to bring this awareness. That millions of dollars doesn't go far if you still don't get people talking about it or getting it covered. So you're absolutely right on that. I see one of the key components, like you say, is if Rotary could get involved with the media part of it. In other words, you have a member, you have somebody there willing to do the work, willing to take that chance and cover it. Because, as Lea said, what happens in the community oftentimes is spearheaded or started by a service organization or service group. That changes the community.
Yeah, somebody takes it and runs with it.
That's right. That's
That's
right.
what it's all about.
Well, with that, about out of time here. So again, thank you very much for that, and thank you for what you're doing for Rotary, making that big difference.
Appreciate you having us.
Thanks, Wade.
And with that, take a look at the Coastal View. Take a look at some of the media that we have to offer, because Rotary is making a huge impact within each community. And with that, plan on visiting it, jump out there, give them a hand, because they can use all the help they can get. With that, thank you very much, and we will see you at the next show.